he said a quote that landed with me. He said, the more ordinary the industry, the more extraordinary the opportunity to market. The more common the noise, it's easier to break out of it. So that's what we need to do. Just look at what the common noise is, the boring, and bust through that. The other caveat is, I'm not saying you have to be outrageous or weird. Like, you don't have to wear a Bozo the Clown costume. And there's actually a sign behind me that says, be you always. That's the ultimate marketing lesson, is marketing should be an amplification of your natural self. It shouldn't be inconsistent with it, because if it is, it's a mistruth.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalciyan.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. This is Brian Kaskavalciyan with G4 Marketing Group, and today I've got Mike Michalowicz. He's back again, and he wrote a new book called Get Different: Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. Mike, I got to say, so to everybody that is listening, if for some reason you don't know Mike, you got to get to know Mike. You got to go to Amazon, because he's written a few really, really great books. The most popular of which is Profit First. And we talk a lot about profit, because why are you going to be in business in the first place? And your book comes up so often. We've gifted it to clients before.
Thank you.
Just a great, you know what I realized when I read Get Different, which is what we're going to talk about today, is the marketing book, but you take very complex topics. Marketing is a complex topic. Getting yourself out of the way in your business, which you wrote about in your book, Clockwork. Another great book.
Thank you.
And in this one, you tackle marketing.
Yeah.
And you take these difficult concepts and you break them down and you simplify them so that, people like me can understand them. People that aren't always good with complex things. So you have tackled profit. You have tackled managing your business with processes and systems. Now you're tackling marketing. Why marketing? Why did you write a book about marketing?
Yeah, so the reason I tackled marketing is it was becoming, and it had become, the most common inquiry I was getting from readers of my past books. And like you, Brian, I really struggle with the complex. So when something's complex, I get overwhelmed. I feel a headache coming on, and I feel committed to figuring out a way to make it simple so I can do it. Well, I was getting these inquiries about how do I market effectively, and I'm like, I thought it'd be so obvious, just marketing. I started to do research about marketing that works, and same thing. The headache started coming on. I was getting overwhelmed. I'm like, let's get to the core principles. What I find is if we, the entrepreneur, understands behavioral psychology, what motivates us, our internal behaviors, inevitably we can channel those things very effectively. And when it came to marketing, I realized it was also the behavior of our prospect. That the reason most marketing doesn't succeed isn't because the marketing isn't out there. In fact, there's more marketing circulating around now than there ever has been.
Yeah,
it's that the consumer has a habit, is a protection mechanism to avoid the innocuous, to ignore the irrelevant. And so when we see recurring patterns that we've determined in the past to be irrelevant, a logo, a marketing message, another "Hey friend" email, when we see those, our mind goes, "Oh, irrelevant," and we delete it, or we ignore it, or we put it in the spam box. And so I was like, well, how do we get inside the mind? And it was like, oh, the consistent thing, the human mind is wired. When something different presents itself, we must analyze it. It's a survival mechanism. And like, okay. And that started to work. And I look back on my life, I'm like, oh, every time my marketing did work, it was because it was different. And when it didn't, it was because it was the same as everyone else's. It was ignorable. And that became the premise of the book. And the reason, again, is because so many small businesses exist that have great products and great services, and they can't get noticed. And that was the question I got, is how do I get noticed? And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah. I know in our space, the home improvement space,
Yeah.
There are some new dynamics. I'm going to be talking about these at our upcoming event, but there are a couple of dynamics that have come into our space. And both of those, in order to solve both of those problems, or challenges, I should say, owners will need to get very, very good at standing out and being different in the marketplace. Because, when you look at advertising that's being done by a lot of people, a lot of it is Me Too advertising.
My God, which is the least effective.
Right?
Yeah.
They copy what their competitors are doing, or
Correct.
maybe worse than that is they're just lazy and they let the advertising media put the ad together for them. And so they end up with a big logo, and they end up with no offer, and they end up with an ad that just looks like everybody else's. And so what you write about it here is so relevant, especially today. And so when you talk about being different, can you give us examples? And I know, and by the way, everybody that's listening, if I had more time with Mike, I was going to give him a little bit of crap from one author to another. But I opened the book, and of course, in true Mike Michalowicz fashion, it starts off with, can I just read what it starts off with?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
I love it.
I just have to.
I love it.
You're a different kind of guy. I read this and I'm like, this guy and his stories. Okay, here. This is how the book starts. And he had me at, the first sentence. I did inhale. Yannick Silver blew a cloud of pot smoke right into my face. I had only one option: breathe it in. And then it goes on and on. Yannick Silver, by the way, is one of the smartest marketers.
Wickedly smart.
Right? Around. Yeah. And so the reason I read that is because what this guy does brilliantly, which I don't do, right when I read that, I'm like, oh, that's why this guy is a best-selling author, and I'm kind of a selling author, is that you tell really great stories.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to say to the reader, this book is filled with really great stories, and you have a really great way of making a point by telling a story. And so didn't want to cut you off, but what are some examples of being different?
Oh, sure.
You're just going to say something too, I think, about this.
Well, I was going to say, I think storytelling is a necessary art. It's the ultimate form of human communication. When we share stories, it sticks. So stories stick. Yep. Ideas don't stick. They're intellectual and they're effective, but it needs to be complemented by a story. So never share an idea without it matching to a sticky story. Here's some different strategies. I can't remember if I included them in the book or not, but I'll go through a few. Like I noticed the starting point is always, when a business isn't marketing, is to look at what the common marketing is for that industry. So in our little town here, I'm in New Jersey, Boonton, New Jersey, a little main street here. And there is literally 3 fitness studios that are adjacent to each other, all within a block and a half. 2 of them actually share a common wall. And the common marketing approach is the before and after pictures. Schlubby customer becomes this, jacked up customer, and you see it over and over all in their windows. And I noticed myself and anyone walking by ignores it because we've seen the before and afters everywhere. Whatever's common, our mind becomes habituated, meaning the process of ignoring because it's not relevant. So I went to these gyms. I said, I got an idea for you to be different. I'll help you out. Every single one rejected me. And there's a little lesson in this, is there is a devil in our shoulder that says, if you stand out, you'll be ridiculed, You'll be in there'll be shame put upon you. You'll be laughed at. The reality is that was true when we were cave dwellers. If I rejected the tribe's desire, I was ridiculed and rejected. But in modern society, it's actually the reverse. Standing out is the way you find your tribe in your community. You have to do it. So we kind of know that, but that cave dweller mind's still there. And so there's this dueling battle. And most of us step down from the responsibility to market ourselves. And it is a responsibility. If we're better than the competition, we are responsible to market. Well, I found this one gym who got it. And they said, yeah, we want to get noticed. We have good stuff. We can serve our community. We changed from the before and after to funhouse mirrors. One strategy is look outside your industry and see what is working for other people and be the first to introduce it to your industry. So carnivals have fun houses, and people, me to include, take pictures of myself when I look like ET or something. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. We in the window, we took one mirror that made you look like really squat and kind of stretched out and schlubby, and another one that made you look like really ripped and tall. And on the schlubby one, we put the words before in letters above it, and the other one we put after on it. And so now when people are walking by, they saw mirrors and they're like, oh my God, look at this. There's me before and after. And they start putting it on social media.
Brilliant. Next
to it, we put a little sign that said, we just transformed you in these mirrors. Now let's transform you in real life. Walk inside. And their foot traffic more than doubled. So that's an example, is whatever the industry is doing is the one thing we shouldn't do. Common ignorable noise. Bring in something that's different. I got more examples, but that was just one.
And that's a good one. I like that one a lot. But it's a great example. My marketing mentor is a guy named Dan Kennedy, and Dan always taught us the number one sin of marketing is to be boring.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Your before and after pictures that everybody does is boring. It's so boring. Everybody just walks by it. But your thing was really interesting. No wonder it worked.
There was an interview I saw of Robert Stevens. He's the founder of Geek Squad. He said something that was mind blowing. Now remember, computer guys are everywhere. I actually had a computer business for a decade, and everyone dressed the same. I wore my same scarecrow suit. It was shoulder pads too big type of thing. I looked like an idiot, but so did everyone else. And then they wore flood pants and that narrow thing and those glasses with tape in the middle. They dressed like geeks, and they lapped up the industry because they were willing to be different. He said a quote that landed with me. He said, the more ordinary the industry, the more extraordinary the opportunity to market. The more common the noise, it's easier to break out of it. So that's what we need to do. Just look at what the common noise is, the boring, and bust through that. The other caveat is, I'm not saying you have to be outrageous or weird. Like, you don't have to wear a Bozo the Clown costume. And there's actually a sign behind me that says, be you always. That's the ultimate marketing lesson, is marketing should be an amplification of your natural self. It shouldn't be inconsistent with it, because if it is, it's a mistruth. And the only experience people have with your business until they do business with you is the marketing. And if they see you one way in marketing, Bozo the Clown, they show up and you're super professional, you're the most logical Spock on the planet, there's an incongruency here. And there's where mistrust is built. If you're a Spock inside, be a Spock on the outside.
Yeah, really good point.
Let's pause here for a quick break. Are you ready to accelerate your business success in 2022? If you answered yes, then you'll want to listen closely to the special invitation. We're calling all home improvement and home service business owners to join us at Accelerate Live 2022, happening in beautiful sunny South Florida on February 15th and 16th. This is the only home improvement event guaranteed to be profitable for you on day one. To get more information, please go to www.accelerateevent.com. Discounted pricing is available right now. So if you want to save big, go to www.accelerateevent.com, and for additional savings, enter coupon code WEALTHY22 at checkout. Remember, this event is 100% guaranteed. If you don't feel it was profitable enough for you on day one, not only will we refund you your ticket money, but we will also give you $1,000 back to cover your time and your travel. So don't delay. Go to www.accelerateevent.com and secure your ticket today. Now back to this week's episode.
So in the book, we got I know we're I'm looking at the clock here.
It's time.
We've got to talk about the framework, the dad framework that you lay out in the book. Can you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. So DAD is an acronym, and I've heard every dad joke as a result. Yeah. It's a checklist. It's the 3 elements that your marketing must have for it to be effective. And if you miss even one element, it is crippled for sure. The first D stands for differentiate. And that's what we've been talking about is break out the common noise. It gets through. There's a thing called the reticular formation. It is the gatekeeper to the mind. And it's literally and figuratively a neural network that blocks inputs into the mind. The mind's primary function is to ignore. 99% of the stimuli that's out there, we don't see. Like right now on your desk, I got a marker here. I'm not looking at, not paying attention, but it could draw my attention. And if I did pay all my attention to that, my survival's at risk because now, I'm paying hours of attention to a stupid marker and I'm not feeding myself or whatever. So the reticular formation blocks, but allows 3 things through: threats, so we can defend ourselves; opportunities, so we can improve ourselves; and different, because different needs to be qualified. When something unexpected presents itself and you walk down the street and you do that double take, like, what was that? That is your reticular formation saying, don't recognize this. It doesn't compute. Don't ignore it. Evaluate it. So first, be different, differentiate. The second part, though, is it must be attractive. Attractive means it needs to speak to the interest or desire of your target audience. You do that double take and you see it's something that's totally irrelevant, you just start walking on again. But if you do that double take and say, oh my gosh, that speaks to me, now you have engagement. So know the pain of your audience, know their desires, know how to entertain or educate. Storytelling is part of marketing. It's a way to entertain people. Now, entertainment doesn't necessarily mean fun. It just means that there's a compelling reason to stay. One of the most, to me, attractive ads or marketing pieces I saw was for seatbelts. And, it wasn't this click it or ticket type of thing, even though it got that message across. What it was a young man, a young woman, and their child, and they're in a living room, and you see this guy engaged in a television show, and you see his wife and daughter behind him, and he's smiling ear to ear, and all of a sudden his face goes from a smile to total concern and dread. And as he does that, his wife wraps her arms over his shoulder and his waist in an angle and locks her fingers. His daughter leaps up and wraps her fingers, it's all in slow motion, around his waist. And then you see this impact moment in slow motion and shards of glass also flying. And the commercial ends and says, seatbelts don't just save lives, it saves families. I was like, my gosh.
Wow, that's good.
It was different. I've never seen a commercial like that. It was attractive, meaning it had me engaged, a compelling story, and it had a direct. That's the final D. What do you want the consumer to do or the prospect with this marketing? That is click your seatbelt. In many websites, I see this ambiguous thing where it just says learn more. I go to someone's website and it says learn more. The whole reason I went to the website was to learn more. I'm going in this ambiguous circle. It's like, if you're looking to buy a new car, could you imagine the salesperson says, oh, that's great, you're looking for a new car. I wish you luck. Check out our lot. Check out all the lots throughout the county. There's tons of lots. See ya. You make, help me. Now, you can go too far too. A direct has to be safe and reasonable. So the car salesperson doesn't say, hey, give me $100,000 deposit and we'll find your dream car. No, it has to be safe and reasonable. What they would ask is, would you be willing to give me your cell number and I'll text you pictures from our lot and our other lots. We're going to hone in on your car. That's a safe transaction. We must have a direct. Tell the prospect, now that they're engaged in marketing, what to do next. Make sure it's safe for them. That's not absurd, but also make sure it's specific in that they know what to do and they're not left in ambiguity. That's the dad checklist.
Yeah. And it's great. Yeah. Stand out, pull them in, and then tell them what you want them to do.
It's that simple. And, it's sad that we herald these, football season's happening right now. The Super Bowl's coming around. They're going to talk about the commercials. And everyone's like, oh, this is the definition of good marketing. It isn't. Now, understand, Budweiser has a $1.6 billion marketing budget, Anheuser-Busch. And what they're looking for is called brand awareness. They are not marketing in the traditional sense where we're looking to get transactions. They just want, you see a commercial ever since the day you're born, on your 21st birthday, you walk into a bar and you're like, give me a Bud. That's what they're trying to do. And they have $1.6 billion to do it. My business, perhaps everyone else's business, we don't have that kind of budget, not even close. I'll tell you this though, Budweiser, it is new and different every year. It's new commercials. So we prepare for it. Curiosity is invoked. They're attractive. You see the Clydesdale, snow coming down, Dalmatian runs by. Who doesn't want to be there? It's a compelling story, but it doesn't have the direct. At the end, it's like Budweiser, change your life, drink more. It doesn't say at the end, scan this QR code and give us your email and we'll give you a coupon for a 6-pack. They will get hundreds of thousands of leads, but they don't have the budget. They have the budget where they don't have to do that. I actually consider it still a mistake. They should do it, but don't clone that. Clone or use the dad model every time. You must have that direct.
You know, and I hope everybody heard what you just said, because you know as well as I do, one of the biggest things that business owners have to come up with is, or deal with, is the people that are coming to sell them advertising. They know they need to do marketing, and then people come and they're selling them advertising, or they hear about, oh, their friends are doing advertising, blah, blah, blah. And what they don't do is they don't have a structure like this. They don't have the education that they need to really make a really good informed decision. And so they'll place an ad, they'll spend money, and after 2 months, they'll say, well, that didn't work. And then now advertising doesn't work.
Right.
Well, what you just described is one of the biggest reasons why, is that how do we stand out from the marketplace? And then branding is very different than lead
For sure.
gen.
For sure. And marketing plans are very different than marketing experiments. I love a plan once I know what I'm doing actually works.
Right.
I think we jump into plans, commitments. That's the definition of a plan, is a commitment, before we do experiments, which means learning. You know, experiment, we expect failure and success. We expect to learn from it. Plans is a commitment. So I hear people say, oh, my marketing plan is 3 months of Facebook ads, or I'm going to keep doing Facebook ads, but we don't know if it's working from the get-go. And we just throw money, spaghetti, at the wall and hope it will stick. And when it doesn't work, well, clearly Facebook doesn't work, but we didn't go in with prudence. In marketing experiments, what we do is we do small tests. Try to reduce your spend as much as possible. Can you do it at no cost? Try to reduce the time and start sampling with a group. When something doesn't work, that is a trigger to either abandon or usually to improve. What adjustments can I make? When something does work, we start amplifying to see if there's greater acceptance in the larger group. In the book, I was talking with statisticians and probabilists, I guess are their titles. But what I was learning was that 10% of an objective community, so my community is 5,000 prospects. If I take 10%, 500, those 500 will likely be highly representative of how the rest will behave. So try out 500 people.
Right.
But even that can be too costly. What I found is the lowest number for any sampling should be about 100. So I call it the target 100. When you have 50,000 people you're targeting, at least try the 100 people. The mistake I see small businesses make, and I am so guilty of this, is I used to try, I called it one and done. I would send out a mail campaign or something to one person, and one person responded. I'm like, this is so successful. I'll do it for everybody. And I'd waste money. Conversely, I would try something out and I get no response for that one person. I'm like, this doesn't work. A data set of 1 is not a data set. We have to get to 100, or ideally 10% sampling, to really know how it's going to work.
Yeah, really good. So, again, I'm looking at the clock here. I have you for 7 more minutes. What can we do in 4 minutes? What can we talk about in 4 minutes? Everybody, where can everybody get the book? Of course, Amazon. Is there a special place you want them to go? Yeah,
you can go to gogetdifferent.com. And the reason I invite people to go there first is absolutely you can get the book. And I'd love if you get on Amazon. I think dollar for dollar is the best way it can be of service. It's everything I know about marketing. Selfishly also serves me. When people buy on the Amazon engine, the algorithm markets to other people. So it does serve me. But gogetdifferent.com has free resources. I think the one unique free resource I have there is it's now 60 or 70, it's rapidly approaching 100 marketing ideas, like stuff that is different that we've tested out in other markets that you can just take those ideas. It costs nothing to download it. You just get it. Of course, I'll ask for your email, so I have permission to market to you and share with you what else I'm doing. But with those tools, you can start trying experiments right away without even having the book.
And there right there was a great marketing lesson, right? So I sell on Amazon too. People that buy at Amazon, I have no idea who they are.
That's right.
None, zero. So how can I bring them into my world? Well, in my books, I tell people, go here to download resources.
Yes, that's exactly it.
right?
Yeah.
And then we can capture their information. Well, you're doing that by we'll put it in the show notes too, but it's gogetdifferent.com. So right. So I would go if I'm the listener, you can get it from Amazon, but go get it from Mike's site, because you want to get on his list, because you want to see what he's doing.
Yeah, and then replicate it.
Exactly. He's a really
it's called R&D. Rip off and duplicate.
Right.
Like, but my one piece of warning, or my one little piece of advice, is whenever you take ideas from others, ensure you ingratiate them into you naturally to who you are. I've seen people take ideas I have and say, oh my gosh, I want that. And then it's inconsistent. And they've taken ideas from other places and becomes this patchwork, a quilt. And people are start questioning it. There's an inauthenticity there. So definitely study, just like I do, how other people do it, but integrate it so it becomes cohesive and consistent with who you are.
Yeah, cool. So I have a question for you. And this might not be about marketing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, when I first picked up the book and that first line that got me, and I'm like, I figured this guy out. Now I know why this guy is so successful. Aside from the fact that you're a hell of a speaker and you all of that stuff.
Thank you.
But you tell stories so good.
Thank you.
How do you craft your stories?
So, okay, great question. So one thing I do, and I invite everyone to do, is speaking is a great platform for learning how to tell a story, because you can translate that to a book. It is hard to write stories, for me at least, and then translate to speaking. So all those stories you see, inevitably I've tested in speaking. Okay. I think the masters of storytelling are comedians. I study comedians constantly. And it's really easy. Go on Netflix and just type in, comedy show, and watch an hour show every single night. And you're going to learn the trick of the trade. What's interesting is they never require PowerPoints or any extra media. They just elicit it, and they can invoke emotional shifts in us, laughing, crying at times. They can evoke this instant shift through extraordinary storytelling. So that's how I do it. I just tell stories on the stage. Initially, when I come up with a new story that I'm sharing, they usually suck until I find out what's resonating. And you want to bring people through the arc. You want people laughing and crying. You want people relating and saying, that's exactly me. And you want people saying, that could be me. So you want all those elements in a good story.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're out there testing like I study comedians too.
Oh, good.
So interesting. So the other night we went to see Angela Johnson. She is she does that bit about the nail salon. She's the nail salon girl. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you look her up, it's hysterical. But she was trying out new material, and you could tell. Yeah. She was trying out new material, right? She's recording it. She wants to see what's going to land, what's not going to land, what's going to make it in the hour, and what's not going to make it in the hour. So
yeah, Jerry Seinfeld, when Jerry Seinfeld's amazing when you see his special. Jerry Seinfeld's like any other comedian when you see his first time delivering stuff. And that's the part of mastery is just constantly testing this stuff out. I've been studying Sebastian Maniscalco recently. I love Jim Gaffigan. I think he's one of the best, but Sebastian Maniscalco uses gesticulation so well. So I've been integrating those techniques into some of my presentations with good effect. It's not great yet, but it's good. And I'm keeping to use that. So I'm always trying to expand to the style of how to tell stories.
So these stories are things that happened in real life, but now you've kind of just developed them?
Exactly. And sometimes there's little vignettes and they expand on them. The Yannick Silver story. It was actually a spoof on Bill Clinton.
Yep, Bill Clinton. I knew it right when you said,
I did not inhale. So I was playing with that stuff, and I was like, oh, what if the reverse is I did inhale? I'm like, oh my God, there's a story. And that truly happened with Yannick. It's a true story. I expanded the funny elements. I amplified the relevant stuff. There was tons of irrelevant stuff, and that becomes the story.
Really good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I will look at it that way and see what I could do to become a little bit of a better storyteller.
Crush it, Brian. People are starving for extraordinary books, and it starts with extraordinary marketing. So you got great stuff. You got to get the word out.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, everybody. So we got to let Mike go, but thank you so much for being here. Thanks for writing these great books too. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you could actually see the book. You can't miss it. It's gogetdifferent.com. Check it out. We'll put it into the show notes. Mike Michalowicz, I wish you continued success. Oh, what's your next book? What are you working on now?
Next book is going to be Clockwork Revised and Expanded, coming out this summer. I just finished it. It's 50% new stuff.
Awesome.
And then there's a book after that about culture and ingratiating employees with extraordinary experience.
Oh, good. All right, good. The big topic right now. Huge.
Yeah,
topic.
it totally is.
Okay.
All right, brother. I got to roll.
Bye.
Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a different way? Did it spark an idea or ideas that you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. If it did, I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of the podcast? By doing so, you'll help other contractors find the podcast more easily so that we can help them achieve more success, wealth, and freedom. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content so you don't want to miss what's coming up. In fact, if you haven't already, make sure you go to thewealthycontractor.com and get your free copy of my latest book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll take care of the cost of the book. And finally, a big thanks to G4 Marketing for sponsoring the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. For over 12 years now, G4 Marketing has been the secret back office relationship marketing team for hundreds of home improvement and home service businesses just like yours. You get the customer, and our proven system turns that customer into 5-star reviews and profitable repeat and referral business. If your home improvement or home services company completes at least 10 jobs per month, they have a solution that will work for you. To find out more, sign up for your free, no obligation, 10-minute discovery call at www.g4marketing.com/strategy. That's GFOUR marketing.com/strategy. Set your discovery call up today, and they'll help you set your business up for long-term profits and success. So until next time, this is Brian Cascavalcian.